The Price of Perfect. A story of love, revenge, and redemption. Part 1, The Golden Cage. The perfect reflection. The mirror showed me exactly what everyone wanted to see. Blonde hair swept into an elegant updo, pearl earrings that cost more than most people's cars, a cream silk dress that whispered money with every movement. Emma Clare, the perfect fiancée, daughter of the Clare dynasty, soon to be Mrs. Marcus Ashford. I adjusted my necklace and smiled at my reflection. The smile didn't reach my eyes anymore. When had that changed? When had I stopped being a person and become a decoration? "Emma, darling, the car is waiting," my mother called from downstairs. Victoria Clare never yelled. She had perfected the art of the carrying whisper, a voice that commanded attention without losing elegance. Tonight was Marcus's bachelor party. Not that I was invited, of course. Bachelor parties were sacred male territory. I was simply expected to have dinner with my mother and future mother-in-law, discussing flower arrangements and seating charts like my entire future wasn't being decided without my input. The wedding was 3 weeks away. 17 million people would watch it live-streamed. The Clare-Ashford Union, they called it. A merger of two powerful families. Sometimes I wondered if anyone remembered there were actual people getting married. The accidental truth. I wasn't supposed to be at the Riverside Hotel. The dinner had ended early when Marcus's mother developed a sudden headache. Probably another manipulation tactic, but I didn't mind. I just wanted to go home, take off this suffocating dress, and breathe. My driver had dropped me off to pick up Marcus's forgotten watch from the concierge. He'd texted me about it, all sweet concern. "Baby, I left my grandfather's watch in the suite. Could you grab it? You're my lifesaver." Looking back, I realize how convenient it was. How perfectly timed. The penthouse floor was quiet. Too quiet. As I approached suite 2804, I heard laughter spilling through a slightly open door. Male voices, loud with alcohol and freedom. I should have knocked. I should have announced myself. Instead, I froze when I heard my name. "Come on, Marcus, truth time. Are you really ready to marry Emma Clare? Lock yourself down to one woman forever?" I recognized the voice. Tyler Brooks, Marcus's college roommate, professional troublemaker. Marcus laughed. The sound made my blood run cold. It wasn't his public laugh, the charming one he used at galas. This was raw, honest, cruel. "Ready?" "Hell no." "But you marry the portfolio, not the person, right?" My hand flew to my mouth. "Dude, that's cold even for you," another voice chimed in. "It's practical," Marcus continued. I heard ice clinking in a glass. "Emma's perfect on paper. Old money, impeccable reputation, knows how to behave at events. She doesn't ask questions, doesn't make demands. She's basically a very expensive, very well-trained doll." The room erupted in laughter. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "But you don't love her?" Tyler pressed. Silence. Long, horrible silence. "Love?" Marcus finally said. "I love her family's connections. I love her trust fund. I love how she makes me look stable and respectable. The board of directors eats it up. My father finally respects me. That's what I love." "What about, the physical stuff?" someone asked with a crude laugh. "Emma's beautiful, sure. But she's boring. Everything's boring with her. She's cold, mechanical. Like sleeping with a mannequin. Thank God for Vanessa. Now there's a woman who knows how to make a man feel alive." Vanessa. His executive assistant. The woman who texted him at midnight about urgent business matters. I'd been so stupid. So incredibly, painfully stupid. Jesus, Marcus, you're still seeing Vanessa? 3 weeks before the wedding? Why would I stop? Emma will never know. She's too busy being perfect to notice anything real. After we're married, I'll have the respectability, the money, and the freedom. Win-win-win. I stumbled backward, my heel catching on the carpet. The watch in my hand felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Marcus's grandfather's watch. A family heirloom. A symbol of legacy and trust. I wanted to throw it through the window. Instead, I turned and walked away, my vision blurring with tears I refused to let fall. Not here. Not where anyone could see. Emma Claire didn't cry in public. Emma Claire was perfect. But Emma Claire was also done. The stranger in the gallery. The next morning, I called in sick to the gallery where I worked. My mother was furious. Emma, you can't miss the final dress fitting. The wedding is 18 days away. 18 days. 432 hours until I was supposed to marry a man who saw me as a beautiful, expensive object. I didn't go to the fitting. Instead, I drove to the gallery anyway, ignoring my mother's 17 phone calls. The art gallery was my one space, my one place where I was Emma, not the Claire heiress. Here, I could breathe. You look terrible, Sophie said the moment she saw me. Sophie Chen was my assistant, my best friend, and the only person who ever told me the truth. I found out Marcus is cheating on me, I said flatly. And that he thinks I'm boring, cold, and basically a walking trust fund. Sophie's eyes went wide. Emma. Don't. Just don't. I can't fall apart yet. I need to think. You need to cancel the wedding. And become what? The girl who couldn't keep her man? The family embarrassment? You know my mother will blame me. She'll say I wasn't trying hard enough, wasn't pretty enough, wasn't perfect enough. So you marry him anyway? Emma, listen to yourself. I was saved from answering by the bell above the door. A man walked in, and the energy in the room shifted immediately. He was tall, dark-haired, with sharp features and eyes that seemed to see everything. He wore an expensive suit with the carelessness of someone who had nothing to prove. Power radiated from him like heat. I'm looking for the Claire collection, he said, his voice deep and smooth. Fourth floor, Sophie answered, clearly as affected by him as I was. Thank you. He started toward the elevator, then paused, turning back to look directly at me. You're Emma Claire. It wasn't a question. I am. And you are? Dante Romano. He extended his hand. When I shook it, I felt a jolt of electricity run up my arm. I've heard a lot about you. All good things, I hope. His smile was slow, dangerous, knowing. Let's just say your reputation precedes you. The perfect daughter. The perfect fiancée. His eyes held mine. But I've never trusted perfection. In my experience, it's usually hiding something interesting underneath. Before I could respond, he nodded and walked to the elevator, leaving me standing there with my heart racing for reasons I didn't want to examine. Who was that? Sophie whispered. I have no idea. But I was lying. I knew exactly who Dante Romano was. He was Marcus's biggest business rival, the self-made tech billionaire who'd built an empire from nothing. Marcus hated him with a passion that bordered on obsession. And I'd just felt more alive in 30 seconds with Dante Romano than I had in 3 years with Marcus Ashford. The gala collision. 3 days later, I was standing in a ballroom full of people who saw me as a prize, a decoration, a convenient alliance. The Riverside Charity Gala was the event of the season. Marcus had his hand on my lower back, guiding me through the crowd like I was a show pony. Smile, Emma, he murmured in my ear. The Tribune is here. We need to look happy. Happy? I'd forgotten what that felt like. I smiled anyway. Perfect teeth, perfect angle, perfect Emma. Marcus Ashford, a familiar voice cut through the noise. I didn't expect to see you here. I thought you'd be busy with more important matters. Like watching your quarterly reports crash. Dante Romano stood before us, impossibly handsome in a black tuxedo, a beautiful redhead on his arm. But his eyes were locked on Marcus, challenging, almost mocking. Marcus's hand tightened on my waist. Romano. Still trying to buy your way into respectability? Still trying to marry yours? Dante's gaze flickered to me for just a second, something unreadable in his expression. Miss Claire, lovely to see you again. Mr. Romano, I said quietly, aware of Marcus's growing tension beside me. Again? Marcus's voice was sharp. You two know each other? We met at the gallery, Dante said smoothly. I was admiring the Claire collection. Beautiful pieces. Though I suspect the curator is even more impressive than the art. It was such a simple compliment, but something in the way he said it made my cheeks flush. He'd called me impressive. Not perfect. Not beautiful. Impressive. Marcus's jaw clenched. Emma, let's go. I need to speak with the Harrison about the merger. Actually, I heard myself say, I'd like to stay and talk about the art. Mr. Romano seemed interested in the collection, and as the curator, I should answer any questions. Both men stared at me. Marcus looked shocked. I never contradicted him in public. Never. Dante's smile widened. I'd appreciate that, Miss Claire. Your expertise would be invaluable. Emma. Marcus's voice carried a warning. I looked at my fiancé. Really looked at him. Saw the man who'd called me boring and cold. The man who was cheating on me. The man who saw me as a portfolio, not a person. Go ahead, Marcus. I'll find you later. For a moment, I thought he might make a scene. But we were in public, surrounded by cameras and society's elite. Marcus Ashford couldn't afford to look like he couldn't control his fiancée. Fine, he said through a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Don't be long. He walked away, leaving me standing with Dante Romano and his date, who was watching the exchange with obvious amusement. That was brave, Dante said quietly, once Marcus was out of earshot. That was stupid, I corrected. He'll make me pay for it later. Will he? Something dangerous flashed in Dante's eyes. And you'll let him? You don't understand. I understand perfectly, Miss Claire. I understand you're drowning in a golden cage, and everyone around you is too busy admiring the gold to notice you can't breathe. The words hit me like a slap. How did this stranger see what no one else could? I should go, I whispered. Or, Dante said, his voice low and intimate, you could dance with me. Just one dance. Then you can go back to being perfect. His date had mysteriously disappeared. It was just the two of us, standing in a room full of people who would talk about this tomorrow. I should have said no. Should have walked away. Should have been perfect Emma Claire. Instead, I took his hand. The dance that changed everything. Dante Romano danced like he did everything else, with confidence, control, and an undercurrent of danger that made my pulse race. His hand was warm on my waist, his other hand holding mine with surprising gentleness. You're going to marry him, he said. It wasn't a question. In 15 days, I confirmed, hating how hollow my voice sounded. Do you love him? I should have lied. Should have recited the script I'd been taught since childhood. Instead, I looked into Dante's dark eyes and told the truth. I don't even know who he really is. I thought I did, but I was wrong about everything. Then why marry him? Because that's what I'm supposed to do. It's what my family expects. What everyone expects. I'm the perfect daughter, remember? Perfect daughters don't break engagements 3 weeks before a $17 million wedding. Perfect daughters also don't dance with their fiancé's biggest enemy, Dante pointed out, a slight smile playing at his lips. Is that what you are? His enemy? Among other things. Dante spun me gently, pulling me back closer than before. I could smell his cologne, feel the heat of his body. Marcus Ashford is a fraud, Emma. Everything about him is a carefully constructed lie. I know, I whispered. Dante's steps faltered for just a moment. You know? I know he's cheating. I know he thinks I'm boring and cold. I know he's only marrying me for my family's money and connections. I know he sees me as a thing, not a person. The words tumbled out, 3 days of pain and anger finally finding a voice. What I don't know is how to stop it without destroying everything. The music ended. Dante didn't let me go. What if I told you there's another way, he said quietly. What if I told you that you could walk away from this with your head high, your reputation intact, and Marcus Ashford destroyed? I'd say that sounds like a fantasy. Or a partnership. Dante's eyes held mine, intense and serious. I've been building a case against Marcus for 2 years. Financial fraud, insider trading, embezzlement. I have almost everything I need to bring him down. Almost. What I need is someone on the inside. Someone he trusts. Someone he doesn't see as a threat. My heart was pounding. You want me to spy on my own fiancé? I want to offer you a choice, Emma. You can marry Marcus and spend the rest of your life as his perfect, miserable wife. Or you can help me expose him for what he really is, get your freedom, and make sure he can never hurt anyone else the way he's hurt you. Why? I asked. Why do you care about bringing Marcus down? This is personal for you. Dante's expression darkened. 5 years ago, Marcus convinced my father to invest his entire life savings in a guaranteed real estate deal. It was a scam. My father lost everything. 6 months later, he had a heart attack. The doctor said it was stress. His voice was cold, controlled. Marcus Ashford killed my father as surely as if he'd pulled a trigger. I'm just returning the favor. I understood then. This wasn't just business. This was revenge. If I help you, I said slowly, what happens to me? My family? Your family's clean. I've checked. They have no idea what Marcus is really doing. When this blows up, you'll be the brave fiancé who discovered her future husband's crimes and did the right thing. You'll be a hero, not a victim. It was insane. Dangerous. Everything I'd been taught to avoid. It was also the first real choice I'd been offered in my entire life. I need time to think, I said. Dante reached into his jacket and pulled out a card. Not a business card, just a plain white card with a phone number written in black ink. When you're ready, he said, pressing it into my palm, call me. But don't wait too long, Emma. The wedding is in 15 days, and after that, it'll be too late for both of us. He stepped back, released me, and walked away, leaving me standing in the middle of the dance floor with a choice that could either save me or destroy me. Across the room, I saw Marcus watching, his expression dark with fury. Perfect Emma Claire would have rushed to his side, apologized, made excuses. But I was done being perfect. I slipped the card into my purse, lifted my chin, and walked toward my fiancé, ready to play the role of my life. The game had begun. Part 2, Ashes and Awakening. The secret meeting. 2 days after the gala, I called the number on Dante's card. My hand shook as I dialed. This was crossing a line I could never uncross. I was hoping you'd call, Dante answered on the first ring. I haven't agreed to anything, I said quickly. I just want to hear more. Fair enough. Meet me at the Harborview Cafe in an hour. Come alone. I almost laughed. I don't go anywhere alone. I have a driver, a security guard, and probably someone tracking my phone right now. Then lose them, Dante said simply. Emma, if you want out of your cage, you need to start acting like you're free. Beginning with one simple choice, meet me, or don't. No one else gets to decide. He hung up before I could respond. I stared at my phone for a long moment. Then I did something I'd never done before. I lied to everyone. I told my mother I had a headache and needed to rest. I told my security guard I was staying home and sent him away. I told my driver I wouldn't need him today. Then I took my mother's car from the garage, the one without GPS tracking because she refused to let anyone monitor her movements, and drove myself to Harborview. It felt like stealing. It felt like rebellion. It felt amazing. Coffee and conspiracy. The cafe was small, tucked away in a part of town where no one I knew would ever go. Dante was already there, sitting in a corner booth, looking annoyingly comfortable in jeans and a simple black shirt. Without the tuxedo, he looked younger, less intimidating. No, that was a lie. He was still intimidating. Just in a different way. "You came," he said, standing as I approached. "I'm insane for being here. Sanity is overrated." He gestured to the seat across from him. "Coffee? The espresso here is actually good." We ordered, and for a few minutes, neither of us spoke. I studied him openly now, taking in the details I'd missed before. The scar on his left eyebrow. The calluses on his hands. The weariness in his eyes that spoke of too many sleepless nights. "You don't look like a tech billionaire," I finally said. "You don't look like someone planning to betray her fiancé," he countered with a slight smile. "I'm not betraying him. I'm exposing him. There's a difference." "Is there?" Dante leaned forward. "Emma, let's be honest about what this is. You want revenge. I want justice. They're both just different words for making someone pay. The question is, are you strong enough to see it through?" "You don't think I am. I think you've spent your whole life being what other people wanted. I think the idea of choosing something for yourself, something dangerous and real, terrifies you more than marrying Marcus ever could." He was right, and I hated him for it. "So prove me wrong," Dante challenged. "Tell me something real. Not the script, not the performance. Something true." I looked into my coffee cup, watching the foam spiral. When I spoke, my voice was barely above a whisper. When I was 7, I wanted to be a dancer. Ballet. I lived for it. Every day after school, I'd practice for hours. I was good, too. Really good. My instructor said I could go professional if I worked hard enough. I swallowed hard. When I was 10, my mother found out I'd been skipping French lessons to take extra dance classes. She pulled me out of ballet entirely. Said dancing wasn't appropriate for a Claire. That I needed to focus on things that mattered. Languages, etiquette, art history. Useful skills for a wife and hostess. "That's child abuse," Dante said flatly. "That's my life." I looked up at him. "I haven't danced in 16 years. I dream about it sometimes. In my dreams, I'm still dancing, and I'm free." My hands were shaking. "That's what you're asking me to do, isn't it? Dance again?" "Metaphorically speaking." Dante reached across the table and covered my hands with his, stilling the tremors. His touch was warm, solid, real. "I'm asking you to live," he said quietly. "Maybe for the first time." The evidence. Over the next week, I became a spy in my own life. Dante had given me a tiny device that looked like a regular flash drive but could clone computer files in seconds. He'd taught me how to use it, how to cover my tracks, how to look innocent while stealing evidence. It should have been hard. It should have felt wrong. Instead, it felt like waking up. Marcus kept files on his laptop about the Wellington project. What he'd told me was a legitimate real estate development. According to Dante, it was actually an elaborate money laundering scheme involving offshore accounts and shell corporations. The laptop was in Marcus's study. I had access. All I needed was 5 minutes alone. "Emma." Marcus called from downstairs. "Where are you?" "We're supposed to meet the florist in 20 minutes. "Coming." I called back, my fingers flying over his keyboard, the flash drive doing its work silently. 98% complete. 99%. "Emma." 100%. I yanked the drive free, shut the laptop, and rearranged his desk exactly as it had been. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure Marcus would hear it when I came downstairs. But he just smiled, kissed my cheek, and helped me into my coat. The perfect fiancé, playing his role just as well as I was playing mine. "You seem different lately," he said in the car, studying me with narrowed eyes. "Happier." "Why?" "Because I'm about to destroy you," I thought. "Just excited about the wedding," I said aloud, giving him my practiced smile. 9 days away. It's finally feeling real. Marcus relaxed, satisfied with my answer. He had no idea that his perfect fiancé was gathering the evidence that would end him. That night, I met Dante at a parking garage downtown. I handed him the flash drive like a spy in a movie, and he looked at me with something that might have been respect. "This is good work, Emma. Really good." "I'm not done yet," I said. "His father keeps physical files in a safe at their estate. I need the combination." "That's too dangerous." "His father is having his annual hunting weekend in Montana next week. The estate will be empty except for staff. I can get in, get the files, and get out." I met his eyes. "I want to do this, Dante. I need to do this." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "All right. But I'm coming with you. Marcus can't know. Marcus won't know. Trust me, Emma. You're not doing this alone anymore." The word anymore hit me like a warm wave. When had I started trusting this man? When had alone become we? When had everything changed? The break-in. The Ashford estate was massive, all old money and intimidation. I'd been here dozens of times for dinners and parties, always feeling like an intruder even though I was supposed to become family. Now I was actually intruding, and I felt powerful. Dante had disabled the security system remotely, one of the perks of being a tech genius. We slipped through the garden entrance, moving through shadows like ghosts. "The study is on the second floor," I whispered. "The safe is behind the Rembrandt." "Of course it is," Dante muttered. "Rich people are so predictable." Despite everything, I smiled. The safe was exactly where I remembered. Dante pulled out a small electronic device and attached it to the keypad. "This will cycle through possible combinations," he explained quietly. "Should take about 5 minutes." "We don't have 5 minutes. The housekeeper does rounds every." Footsteps in the hallway. We both froze. Without thinking, I grabbed Dante's hand and pulled him behind the massive oak desk. We crouched there in the darkness, pressed together, barely breathing. I could feel his heart beating against my back, his breath warm on my neck. The footsteps passed. The door didn't open. We waited another full minute before moving, but neither of us let go of each other's hands immediately. "That was close," Dante whispered. "Too close." I was acutely aware of how near he was, how good he smelled, how safe I felt with him even in the middle of a crime. This was bad. This was dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with breaking and entering. The safe beeped softly. Dante pulled it open, and we both stared at the files inside. "Jackpot," he breathed. We photographed everything, working quickly and efficiently. Marcus's father had kept meticulous records of every illegal transaction, every bribe, every laundered dollar. It was enough to bring down not just Marcus, but his entire family empire. Why would he keep all this? I wondered aloud. "It's evidence of his crimes." "Insurance," Dante said grimly. "Or blackmail material. Men like Harrison Ashford always keep leverage, even on their own family." We were gathering the last files when I saw it. A folder with my name on it. With shaking hands, I opened it. Inside was a complete dossier on me and my family. Financial records. Medical records. Private investigators' reports detailing my daily routines, my friends, my habits. There were even photos of me from the past 3 years, taken without my knowledge. They've been watching me, I said, feeling sick. Long before Marcus proposed. This was always just business. They researched me like I was a stock they were considering buying. Dante's jaw clenched as he looked over my shoulder. Emma. I was never a person to them. Never. Just a commodity. A useful piece in their game. I laughed, but it came out broken. God, I'm so stupid. You're not stupid. You're human. You wanted to believe in love. There's no such thing as love, I said bitterly, closing the folder. There's just strategy and leverage and people using each other. That's not true. Isn't it? What are we doing right now, Dante? You're using me to get your revenge. I'm using you to get my freedom. It's all just transactions. Is that what you think this is? Dante turned me to face him, his hands on my shoulders. Emma, I could have found another way. I could have used someone else, hired a professional hacker, bribed a secretary. I didn't need you for this. Then why? Because you needed me, he said simply. Because I saw you at that gala, standing next to a man who treats you like property, and something in me broke. Because every time I see you smile that fake smile, I want to burn down the world that taught you to hide your real one. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. This stopped being about revenge 3 days ago, Dante continued, his voice rough. Maybe it was never about revenge at all. Maybe I just needed an excuse to be close to you without admitting that I. He stopped himself, jaw clenching. That you what? I whispered. But before he could answer, lights flooded the estate. Alarms began to shriek. Someone's coming, Dante said, releasing me. We need to go. Now. We ran. The confession. We made it out seconds before security arrived. Dante drove us to a safe house he owned across the city, a small apartment that didn't show up on any records, he explained. We were both shaking with adrenaline and fear and something else neither of us wanted to name. That was too close, I said, pacing the small living room. If we'd been caught. We weren't caught. Dante was setting up his laptop, downloading the photos we'd taken. And this information is exactly what we needed. Emma, with this, we can. Finish what you were saying before. He stopped typing. What? At the estate. You said this wasn't about revenge anymore. That you needed an excuse to be close to me. Finish the thought, Dante. Emma, it doesn't matter. It matters to me. I stopped pacing, facing him fully. For the first time in my life, something matters to me. You matter to me. So finish the damn sentence. Dante stood slowly, carefully, like I was a wild animal that might bolt. You're getting married in 5 days. I'm not marrying him. We both know that. The moment we release this information, the wedding is off. Everything is off. So stop hiding behind that excuse and tell me the truth. You want the truth? Dante crossed the space between us in 2 strides. The truth is I'm falling for you. Have been since the moment you took my hand and danced with me instead of doing what you were told. The truth is every time I see you, I forget why I started this whole thing. The truth is I'm terrified because in 5 days you could still choose him, choose your perfect life, and I'd have to watch you walk away. I won't choose him, I said, my voice breaking. I can't. Not after everything. But can you choose me? Dante asked quietly. Emma, I'm not offering you another cage. I can't promise you safety or stability or anything remotely resembling your old life. All I can offer is truth, and chaos, and a man who thinks you're the bravest person he's ever met. I looked at him, really looked at him. Dante Romano, the self-made billionaire who'd built an empire from nothing. The man seeking justice for his father. The man who'd seen me as a person when everyone else saw a pretty decoration. The man who'd taught me I could choose my own life. I don't want safety, I said. I want to feel alive. And then I kissed him. It wasn't careful or gentle or perfect. It was messy and desperate and real. His hands tangled in my hair, mine clutched at his shirt, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't performing. I wasn't being what someone else wanted. I was just Emma, kissing a man who made me feel like I could set the world on fire. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante pressed his forehead to mine. "There's no going back from this," he warned. "Good," I said. "I never want to go back." The transformation. The next 3 days were a blur of planning, evidence gathering, and stolen moments. Dante taught me how to be someone other than perfect Emma Claire. We'd meet at odd hours, in strange places, always careful to avoid being seen together. "You need to act normal," Dante reminded me constantly. "Go to your dress fittings. Smile at the photographers. Let everyone think you're the happy bride." But I wasn't that person anymore. I could feel the change in my bones, in the way I held myself. My mother noticed. "Emma, you seem distracted," she said over tea 3 days before the wedding. "Is something wrong?" Everything was wrong. Everything was right. "Just nervous," I lied smoothly, and realized I was getting good at lying. "It's a big step. Marcus is a good man. You're lucky to have him." I sipped my tea and said nothing. Let her believe what she wanted. In 72 hours, everyone would know the truth. That night, Sophie cornered me at my apartment. "Spill it," she demanded, closing the door behind her. "And don't give me that everything's fine garbage. You're different. Your eyes are different. What's going on?" I looked at my best friend, the only person who'd ever seen past my perfect mask, and made a decision. "If I tell you something, can you keep it secret for 3 more days?" "Emma, you're scaring me." "Promise, Sophie." "I promise." So I told her everything. About Marcus's betrayal, about Dante, about the evidence, about the plan. She listened without interrupting, her eyes growing wider with every word. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "You're really going to do this," she finally said. "You're going to blow up your entire life." "Yes." "And you're falling for Dante Romano." "Yes." Sophie started to laugh. "Holy hell, Emma Claire. I've known you for 8 years, and I've never seen you take a risk. Now you're taking the biggest one possible. Multiple risks. Simultaneously. I know it's insane." "It's not insane. It's perfect." She grabbed my hands. "I'm proud of you. Terrified for you, but proud. What can I do to help?" The final night. The night before my wedding, I was supposed to stay at my parents' house. Tradition dictated that Marcus and I shouldn't see each other until I walked down the aisle. Instead, I told my mother I needed one last night in my own apartment to mentally prepare. She didn't like it, but she allowed it. At midnight, Dante's car pulled up outside. "We release everything tomorrow," he said when I slid into the passenger seat. "Are you ready?" "No," I admitted. "But I'm doing it anyway." He drove us to a beach outside the city, where the world was quiet and dark in ours. We sat on the hood of his car, watching waves crash against the shore, and for a little while, we didn't talk about revenge or evidence or weddings. "Tell me something you've never told anyone," I said. Dante was quiet for a moment. "After my father died, I didn't speak for 6 months. Everyone thought it was grief, and it was, partly. But mostly I was angry. At myself, for not stopping him from investing with Marcus. At the world, for being so unfair. At my father, for leaving me alone." I reached for his hand in the darkness. "You're not alone anymore." "Neither are you," he said, threading his fingers through mine. We sat like that for hours, 2 people on the edge of destroying everything they'd ever known, holding on to each other like lifelines. "I should take you back," Dante finally said as dawn started to paint the sky pink and gold. "Your mother will be at your apartment in a few hours with the hair and makeup team." "I know." But I didn't move. Neither did he. Emma, Dante said quietly. After tomorrow, after everything explodes and settles, I need you to know something. What? You can walk away from me. From this. You'll have your freedom, and you don't owe me anything. Not your time, not your attention, certainly not your heart. His voice was rough. I won't hold you to anything that happens in the chaos. I turned to face him fully. What if I don't want to walk away? Then I'll spend every day for the rest of my life trying to deserve you. I kissed him as the sun rose, tasting salt air and promises and the future we were about to fight for. Part 3, The Reckoning. The wedding morning. My mother arrived at 7 a.m. with a team of 10 people. Hairstylists, makeup artists, a photographer to capture authentic behind-the-scenes moments, and her own special brand of anxiety disguised as excitement. This is it, Emma, she squealed, hugging me carefully to avoid wrinkling her designer dress. Your perfect day has finally arrived. Perfect. That word again. I smiled and let them transform me into the bride everyone expected to see. They pinned my hair into an elaborate updo, secured the cathedral-length veil, painted my face until I looked like a porcelain doll. The dress cost more than most people earned in a year, white silk, hand-embroidered lace, a train that required 3 people to carry. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a beautiful stranger. Oh, Emma, my mother breathed, tears in her eyes. You're absolutely perfect. My phone buzzed. A text from Dante, it's done. Everything is sent to the press. No going back now. My hand shook slightly as I typed back, good. Who are you texting? My mother asked, suddenly suspicious. Just Sophie, telling her I'm ready. The lie came easily now. I'd become good at lying. The thought should have bothered me more than it did. The arrival. The venue was spectacular. White roses everywhere, crystal chandeliers, a string quartet playing softly. 600 guests filled the chairs, their phones ready to live stream every moment to the millions watching online. The Claire Ashford wedding. The event of the decade. The last event of my old life. I stood in the bride's suite, listening to the chaos beginning downstairs. Raised voices. Running footsteps. Someone shouting. It was starting. Sophie burst through the door, her face flushed. Emma, all hell is breaking loose. The press just released a massive exposé on Marcus and his father. Financial fraud, money laundering, everything. There are reporters everywhere. The SEC is on their way. It's chaos. Is it? I kept my voice calm, steady. Sophie stared at me. You knew. You knew this was going to happen. Emma, what did you do? What I had to do. The door slammed open. My mother stood there, face white with rage and shock. Emma. What? Have you done? Told the truth, I said simply. Marcus is a criminal. His family is corrupt. I found evidence of their crimes and turned it over to the authorities. My mother couldn't seem to find words. Do you have any idea what you've done to this family? To your reputation? To us? I've saved us from being connected to criminals. You should be thanking me. Thanking you? Her voice was shrill now. You've humiliated us. Destroyed an alliance that took years to build. Made us the laughingstock of society. Better a laughingstock than an accomplice, I said coldly. Would you rather I'd married him? Let his crimes become our crimes? A knock at the door. A security guard's voice, Mrs. Clare, the police are here. They're taking Marcus Ashford and his father into custody. They want to speak with Emma. My mother looked at me like I was a stranger. Who are you? I'm your daughter, I said quietly. The one who finally stopped being perfect and started being real. The confrontation. They let me walk downstairs still in my wedding dress, an absurd princess gown in the middle of a crime scene. Guests were streaming out, phones raised, capturing every moment. The viral wedding of the century, just not in the way anyone expected. Marcus stood near the altar, hands being cuffed behind his back, his father beside him receiving the same treatment. When he saw me, his face transformed from shock to pure hatred. "You," he snarled. "You did this. You betrayed me." I walked closer, my heels clicking on the marble floor, my train dragging behind me like a cape. 600 people watched. Millions more online. For once, I didn't care. "I betrayed you?" I stopped a few feet away. "You spent 3 years lying to me. Using me. You called me boring, cold, a human portfolio. You cheated on me repeatedly. You were planning to continue cheating after our wedding." My voice was steady, clear. "I didn't betray you, Marcus. I simply stopped letting you use me." "You have no idea what you've done," Marcus said through clenched teeth. "The people my father works with, the connections he has, they'll destroy you for this." "Let them try." I smiled. "I'm not the perfect, obedient girl you thought I was. I never was. I was just performing a role. But I'm done performing now." A detective approached. "Miss Claire, we'll need your full statement." "Of course." I turned to walk away, then paused, looking back at Marcus one last time. "By the way, I'm keeping the ring. Consider it compensation for 3 wasted years." The diamond on my finger was worth $200,000. I was absolutely selling it and donating the money to organizations helping fraud victims. Marcus lunged toward me, but the police held him back. His shouting followed me out of the venue, "You're nothing without me. Nothing. You'll regret this." But his words couldn't touch me anymore. The aftermath. The detective took my statement in a quiet room away from the chaos. I told her everything, how I'd discovered Marcus's affair, overheard his real feelings, met Dante, gathered evidence. I left nothing out. "You took significant risks," the detective said when I finished. "Breaking into the Ashford estate was illegal." "I know. However, given the circumstances and the fact that you were engaged to Mr. Ashford at the time, giving you a certain level of access." She closed her notebook. "Let's just say the district attorney is more interested in the bigger fish here. Your cooperation is noted and appreciated." Relief flooded through me. "So I'm not being charged?" "Not today, Miss Claire. Though I'd advise against any future breaking and entering, regardless of the cause." Noted. When I walked out, Sophie was waiting, along with my younger sisters. They rushed to me, hugging me still in the ridiculous wedding dress. "That was the most badass thing I've ever seen," my youngest sister whispered. "You're my hero, Emma." I hugged them back, crying for the first time that day. "I'm sorry I scared you." "Don't be sorry," Sophie said fiercely. "Be proud. You just took down an empire." My mother stood apart from us, arms crossed, face unreadable. For a long moment, we just looked at each other. "You could have told me," she finally said. "I would have helped." "Would you?" I asked gently. "Or would you have told me to work it out? To be more understanding? To try harder to please him?" She flinched. "Is that really what you think of me?" "I think you love me," I said carefully. "But I also think you've spent my whole life training me to be acceptable to men like Marcus. To be perfect instead of happy. To prioritize family reputation over everything else, including myself." Tears slipped down my mother's perfectly made-up face. "I thought I was protecting you. Preparing you for the world we live in." "You were caging me," I said, but my voice was soft, not angry. "Mom, I don't fit in your world anymore. I'm not sure I ever did. But I need you to let me find my own way now. I don't know if I can do that. Then we'll figure it out together. But I'm not going back to being who I was. That girl is gone." My mother nodded slowly, wiping her eyes. "I can see that. She took a shaky breath. What will you do now? I have no idea, I admitted, and laughed. Isn't that wonderful? The meeting. 3 hours later, I was sitting in Dante's safe house apartment, still wearing the wedding dress because I hadn't thought to bring other clothes. It was the most surreal moment of my life. You look ridiculous, Dante said when he walked in, but his eyes were soft. I look like a runaway bride. Which is exactly what I am. I gestured at the dress. Help me out of this thing? There are about 1,000,000 buttons. His fingers were surprisingly gentle as he worked through the tiny pearl buttons down my back. Neither of us spoke. The silence was charged, heavy with everything unspoken. When the dress finally loosened, I stepped out of it, standing in my simple white slip. I felt more naked in that moment than I had the night we'd spent together. It's over, I finally said. Everything we planned, everything we worked for. It's done. It is. So what happens now? I turned to face him. You got your justice. I got my freedom. We don't need each other anymore. Dante looked at me for a long moment. Is that what you think? That this was just a transaction? I don't know what to think, I admitted. Everything happened so fast. A month ago, I was planning my perfect wedding. Now I've destroyed my fiancé, probably ruined my family's reputation, and I'm standing in a safe house in my underwear with a man I barely know. But you do know me, Dante said quietly, taking a step closer. You know I take my coffee black with 2 sugars. You know I have a scar on my eyebrow from falling off my bike when I was 9. You know I can't cook to save my life, but I make excellent breakfast sandwiches. You know I haven't slept properly in 5 years, not until the nights I spent next to you. Each fact hit me like a small revelation. He was right. I did know him. Maybe better than I'd ever known Marcus. You know I hate the color yellow, but I wear it anyway because my mother insists, I countered. You know I wanted to be a dancer. You know I've never had coffee without cream until you ordered it for me and I realized I actually prefer it that way. You know I'm terrified of being alone, but even more terrified of being with someone who doesn't see me as real. I see you, Dante said, close enough now that I could feel his warmth. I've seen you from the beginning, Emma. The question is, now that the chaos is over, do you still want to be seen? Did I? It would be easier to disappear. To take my freedom and run. To reinvent myself somewhere far away where no one knew me as perfect Emma Claire or the girl who destroyed the Ashford Empire. But that would be another kind of hiding. I'm scared, I whispered. What if this was just adrenaline? What if without the danger and secrets, we're nothing? Then we'll find out, Dante said simply. Emma, I'm not asking you to marry me or move in or make any grand declarations. I'm asking if you want to have dinner with me tomorrow night. Just dinner. No schemes, no plans, no performance. Just 2 people getting to know each other. It was such a small thing. Such a normal thing. It was everything. Yes, I said. I'd like that. He smiled, really smiled, and pulled me into his arms. I melted against him, feeling safe and terrified and alive all at once. For the record, he murmured against my hair, I think I started falling for you the moment you took my hand at the gala. Everything after that was just me trying to find excuses to be near you. That's very inefficient, I teased, pulling back to look at him. You could have just asked me out. You were engaged. Details. He laughed and kissed me, soft and sweet and full of promise. 6 months later. The art gallery opening was a success. My own gallery, featuring young artists who'd never had a chance to show their work. No family money, no connections, I'd built it with the settlement from breaking my engagement contract and the money from selling that obscene diamond ring. Sophie was my business partner. My sisters visited every weekend, bringing their friends, spreading the word. Even my mother came, though she still looked uncomfortable around the abstract pieces and the diverse crowd. We were rebuilding our relationship slowly. Some days were better than others. Marcus and his father were both facing multiple fraud charges. The trial wouldn't start for months, maybe years. I tried not to think about them. That was a closed chapter of my life. Dante walked in just as I was giving a speech to the gathered crowd, and my heart did that stupid flutter thing it had been doing for 6 months straight. He'd been in Tokyo for a week on business, and I'd missed him more than I wanted to admit. When the speech ended and the crowd dispersed to admire the art, he found me. "Hey," he said, pulling me close. "Hey yourself. How was Tokyo?" "Productive. Boring without you." He kissed my forehead. "I have something for you. Dante, I told you to stop buying me things. It's not expensive. Just meaningful." He pulled a small box from his pocket. My heart stuttered. "If that's a ring." "It's not a ring," he said, laughing. "Open it." Inside was a delicate silver chain with a tiny charm, a pair of ballet slippers. "I know you haven't danced in years," Dante said quietly. "But I found a studio that offers adult classes. No pressure, no performance, just movement and music and joy. If you want." Tears pricked my eyes. "You remembered." "I remember everything about you, Emma." I fastened the necklace around my neck, feeling the small weight of the charm settle against my skin. A reminder of dreams I'd abandoned. A promise that it wasn't too late to reclaim them. "I love you," I said, the words simple and true and terrifying. Dante's eyes widened. We hadn't said it yet, though we'd both been dancing around it for weeks. "You don't have to say it back," I added quickly. "I just wanted you to know." "I love you too," he interrupted, grinning. "Have for months. Was waiting for you to catch up." Arrogant. Accurate. I laughed and kissed him, surrounded by art and possibilities and the life I'd chosen for myself. The dance. 2 weeks later, I walked into the dance studio Dante had found. My hands were shaking. I was wearing ballet slippers for the first time in 16 years. The instructor was kind, patient. The class was small, just 5 other women, all adults returning to a childhood passion. No judgment, no competition, just movement. When the music started, I thought I'd forgotten everything. Thought my body wouldn't remember. But the moment I rose end point, muscle memory kicked in. My body knew what to do. It had been waiting, dormant but not dead, for me to come back. I wasn't as good as I'd been at 10. I was better. Because now I wasn't dancing to be perfect. I was dancing to be free. Dante watched from the observation window, and when class ended and I walked out, sweaty and exhausted and happier than I'd been in years, he was smiling. "You're beautiful when you dance," he said. "I'm beautiful when I'm real," I corrected. "Same thing," he said, and took my hand. We walked out into the summer evening, 2 people who'd found each other in the wreckage of broken lives and built something new from the ashes. My phone buzzed. A text from my youngest sister: "Mom signed up for your Thursday painting class. Don't freak out. She's trying." I showed Dante the message. He laughed. "Your mother in a casual painting class? This I have to see." "She'll probably wear Chanel," I predicted. "Obviously." We walked toward his car, but I stopped suddenly, turning to face him. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" "For seeing me when I couldn't see myself. For giving me the courage to break free. For loving the real me, not the perfect version." Dante cupped my face in his hands. "Emma, you've got it backward. You freed yourself. You found your own courage. You decided to be real. I was just lucky enough to be there when you did." "We can both be right," I said. "Deal." He kissed me as the sun set over the city, and I knew with absolute certainty that this, messy, imperfect, real, was exactly where I was meant to be. Not in a golden cage. Not playing a role. Just Emma. Finally, completely, unapologetically Emma. And it was beautiful. Epilogue, 1 year later. The headline read, Emma Clare launches foundation for financial fraud victims, former almost Mrs. Ashford turns personal tragedy into purpose. I was sitting in my office at the foundation, reviewing grant applications, when Dante walked in with coffee and bagels. Breakfast of champions, he announced, setting them on my desk. You're my favorite person, I said, reaching for the coffee. I better be. I'm about to ask you a very important question. My heart jumped. We'd talked about the future, about maybe, someday, but... Dante knelt down. But not in front of me. He was tying his shoe. Got you, he said with a wicked grin, standing back up. I threw a pen at him. You're terrible. But you love me anyway. Questionable, I teased, but I was smiling. Dante sat on the edge of my desk, his expression turning serious. Actually, I do have a question. Not that question, he added quickly when he saw my face. Not yet. When I ask you that, I want to do it right. Romance, planning, the whole thing. So what's the question? Move in with me. For real this time, not just staying over 4 nights a week. I want to wake up with you every morning. I want to argue about whose turn it is to do dishes. I want to build a life with you, Emma. A real, messy, imperfect life. It should have been scary. A year ago, it would have terrified me. Now it just felt right. Yes, I said simply. Let's build something real. Dante's smile could have lit up the entire city. He pulled me close, and I let myself sink into his embrace, feeling grateful for every choice that had led me here. For the courage to dance with a stranger. For the strength to break free. For the wisdom to choose love over perfection. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother, dinner this Sunday? I'm making my famous roast. Dante is invited. Also, I enrolled in that dance class you mentioned. Don't make a big deal about it. I showed Dante, both of us grinning. Your mother is taking dance classes, he said, wonder in his voice. Miracles happen, I replied. They do, Dante agreed, kissing the top of my head. You're living proof. Outside my office window, the city sparkled with afternoon light. Somewhere out there, other people were trapped in their own golden cages, performing perfection, hiding their real selves. I hoped they'd find the courage to break free, too. Because the truth I'd learned in the hardest way possible was this: perfection is a prison, but authenticity is freedom. And freedom, messy and terrifying and real, is always worth the price. The end. Thank you for reading The Price of Perfect. If you enjoyed this story of love, revenge, and self-discovery, please like and subscribe to Heart's Reckoning for more romantic stories that inspire and empower.